The last ration. The sky over Nebulon 7 burned crimson, thick smoke from the bombings churning through the atmosphere like angry spirits. Marcus Reed, a combat medic from Earth's 12th Expeditionary Force, trudged through the ruins of what had once been a thriving alien marketplace. His boots crunched over shattered glass and pulverized concrete, each step echoing in the eerie silence that had descended after the Imperial forces withdrew. 3 days had passed since his escape pod crashed in the outskirts of this city. 3 days of hiding, of scavenging, of wondering if he was the only survivor from his battalion. His medical insignia, once a symbol that had granted him passage through even the most hostile territories, now felt like a target painted on his chest. The Arcturian Empire didn't differentiate between combatants and medics. To them, all humans were vermin to be exterminated. Marcus paused, leaning against a half-collapsed wall to catch his breath. His hand instinctively went to the pocket of his tactical vest, fingers brushing against the small foil-wrapped package, his last chocolate ration. The tight knot of hunger in his stomach twisted painfully as he thought about it. He hadn't eaten in nearly 2 days, and his water purification tablets were running dangerously low. One more day, he whispered to himself. Just need to hold out one more day until the rescue beacon cycles. A soft sound caught his attention. So faint he almost dismissed it as debris settling. But years of battlefield experience had honed his senses. Someone was nearby, breathing with the shallow, rapid pattern of fear. Marcus's hand moved to his sidearm, a standard-issue plasma pistol with exactly 3 charges left. He scanned the area, eyes narrowing as he focused on a pile of rubble near what had once been a food stall. The colors and alien script were faded but still recognizable. A place that had once sold fruits from across the sector. "I know you're there," Marcus called out, keeping his voice steady but firm. "I'm not looking for trouble." Silence answered him, but the breathing pattern changed. Whoever was hiding knew they'd been spotted. "I'm a medic," he continued, slowly removing his hand from his weapon and showing his empty palm. "I help people. I won't hurt you." A slight movement disturbed the dust, and then, ever so slowly, a face emerged from behind a fallen beam. It was unmistakably alien, with skin the color of pale azure, marked with intricate indigo patterns that seemed to shift and pulse slightly with each breath. Large, almond-shaped eyes regarded him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. They were an impossible violet color, with faint bioluminescence that reminded Marcus of deep-sea creatures from Earth's oceans. It was a girl, or at least, Marcus thought so. With alien species it was sometimes hard to tell, but something in the delicate features and slight frame suggested youth and femininity. She looked emaciated, her slender arms wrapped protectively around her midsection, her clothing tattered and filthy. "Hello," Marcus said, crouching down to appear less threatening. He moved slowly, telegraphing his actions as he reached for his translator device. "Do you understand me?" The alien girl didn't respond verbally, but her eyes tracked his movements with the wariness of prey watching a predator. Her gaze flicked to the insignia on his uniform, and something like recognition flickered across her features. "Human," she finally said, her voice emerging through the translator as soft and melodic despite its weakness. "Human medic." Marcus nodded, relieved. "Yes, my name is Marcus Reed. I'm not here to hurt you. Are you injured?" The girl hesitated, then shook her head slightly. But the way she hunched over, the trembling in her limbs, Marcus had seen it enough times in refugee camps. She wasn't injured. She was starving. Without thinking, he reached into his pocket and pulled out the chocolate ration. The foil wrapper caught the dim light, and the alien girl's eyes widened, pupils dilating visibly. "Food," Marcus said simply, unwrapping the small bar halfway and extending it toward her. "It's called chocolate. From Earth." Her hand shook as she stared at the offering, confusion evident in her expression. Marcus had seen this before too. The disbelief of the desperate when offered help with no strings attached. "Go ahead," he encouraged. "Take it." After a moment's hesitation, she reached out with slender fingers and took the chocolate bar. She examined it closely, lifting it to her nose to catch its scent. Then, with deliberate slowness, she took a tiny bite. The reaction was immediate and profound. Her luminescent eyes widened dramatically, and a small gasp escaped her lips. The patterns on her skin pulsed brighter for a moment as she savored the taste, an expression of wonder transforming her gaunt features. "This is," she began, then seemed to lack the words. "I have never." Marcus smiled, forgetting his own hunger as he watched her. "Pretty good, huh? It's a favorite back home." She took another small bite, clearly trying to make it last. As she ate, Marcus noticed something strange about her wrist. A faint golden glow that seemed to emanate from beneath her skin, forming a pattern that looked almost like an emblem or sigil. She caught him looking and quickly pulled her sleeve down, but not before Marcus had noticed her expression change from pleasure to alarm. "What's your name?" he asked, choosing not to comment on what he'd seen. The girl hesitated again, longer this time, as though weighing a crucial decision. "You may call me Vela," she finally said. Before Marcus could respond, a mechanical whirring sound filled the air. Both of them froze, eyes turning skyward where a sleek, black drone was descending into the marketplace. Its optical sensors rotated slowly, scanning methodically. "Imperial Patrol," Vela whispered, terror evident in her voice. "They cannot find me." The urgency in her tone snapped Marcus to attention. Whatever her story was, he knew one thing for certain. Being discovered by Imperial forces would mean death for both of them. He reached out his hand. "Come with me," he said. "I know places to hide." For a heartbeat, Vela hesitated, studying his face with those luminous eyes. Then she placed her slender blue hand in his and nodded. "Lead, human medic. I will follow." They moved quickly through the ruins, keeping to the shadows, ducking under fallen archways, and through the hollow shells of buildings. Marcus led them toward the city's underground utility tunnels, which he'd been using as safe passages since his arrival. Behind them, more drones joined the first, their search patterns becoming more focused, more urgent. As they reached the entrance to the tunnels, a maintenance hatch half hidden behind fallen debris, a beam of intense red light swept over the area where they had been moments before. Marcus pulled Vela down into the darkness of the tunnel, closing the hatch behind them. In the dim emergency lighting of the subterranean passage, Vela's face was ghostly, her bioluminescent eyes and skin markings the brightest things in the gloom. She was breathing hard, not just from exertion. "They're not looking for just any survivor, are they?" Marcus asked quietly. "They're looking specifically for you." Vela's gaze dropped to the floor. "Yes." "Why?" She looked up at him, a new resolve hardening her features. "Because I am not merely Vela. I am Princess Velarix of House Lumina, rightful heir to the Arcturian throne." As she spoke, she pulled back her sleeve, revealing the mark on her wrist, a royal seal that now glowed with unmistakable authority. Marcus stared in disbelief. "You're the princess." But the news said the entire royal family was executed when General Krell seized power. "He believes so," Vela said, a flash of pain crossing her features. "My parents and brothers were killed before my eyes. I escaped only because my royal guard sacrificed himself to create a diversion." Her voice faltered. "I have been hiding among the ruins for 16 cycles, surviving on what I could find." The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. He had just given his last ration to the most wanted person in the Arcturian Empire. If they were caught, it wouldn't be a simple execution. It would be public, prolonged, and designed to send a message. "Why tell me this?" he asked. "I could turn you in. The bounty on your head would set me up for life." Vela's violet eyes held his gaze steadily. "You gave me your last food when you thought I was nothing but a starving refugee. Humans have a reputation across the galaxy," Marcus read. "Some call you violent, unpredictable, dangerous. But I have just witnessed something else, something my people call Vashmora, the selfless heart. She placed a hand over her chest. I trust you because you have shown me who you truly are. Before Marcus could respond, his portable scanner beeped softly, an alert he'd programmed to warn of approaching Imperial signatures. He checked the display and felt his blood run cold. It's not just drones anymore, he said grimly. They've deployed bounty hunters, ground teams, at least 3 separate signatures, converging on this area. Vela's luminescence dimmed noticeably. They must have detected my royal biometric signature when I experienced pleasure from your gift. Strong emotions can sometimes override the dampening techniques I use to hide. Marcus thought quickly, reviewing his mental map of the tunnel system. There's an old transport hub 2 levels down. If we can reach it, we might be able to find a vehicle that still works. And if we cannot, Marcus met her gaze steadily. Then we fight. I've got 3 shots left in my pistol, a medkit with some compounds that can be repurposed as explosives, and a pretty strong desire not to die today. He managed a tight smile. How about you, Your Highness? For the first time since he'd met her, Vela's lips curved into something resembling a smile. I have 16 cycles of rage, the royal combat training of House Lumina. And now, she touched her lips where the chocolate had been, a new reason to believe that perhaps the universe is not as dark as I had thought. That'll do, Marcus said, offering his hand again. That'll do just fine. As they moved deeper into the tunnels, the sounds of pursuit echoed distantly behind them. Above, an entire empire hunted for them. Ahead lay uncertainty and danger. But in that moment, as human and alien princess ran side by side through the darkness, something new was forming. An alliance that would soon shake the foundations of galactic power. All because of one small act of kindness, one last chocolate bar given freely to a stranger in need. The Royal Refuge. Dawn broke over the ruins of Nebulon 7, bleeding amber light through the shattered skyline. Marcus and Vela emerged from the underground tunnel network at the city's edge, where crumbling structures gave way to a vast, rocky wasteland. In the distance loomed the ancient Lumina monoliths, massive crystalline structures half buried in the ground, remnants of Arcturian civilization that predated even the Empire. The ancestral refuge, Vela said, her voice hushed with reverence as she gazed at the monoliths. No one goes there anymore. The common people believe it is haunted by the spirits of my ancestors. The Imperial forces avoid it because the crystal formations interfere with their scanning technology. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow, checking his scanner one last time before shutting it down to conserve power. Sounds perfect. How far? Half a day's journey across the plains, Vela replied. She was looking stronger now. They had found emergency rations in an abandoned maintenance station, and though the alien food had tasted like cardboard to Marcus, it had been nourishing enough. If we reach it by nightfall, we can hide among the crystal chambers. They set off across the barren landscape, keeping low whenever possible, using rocky outcroppings for cover. The twin suns of the Nebulon system beat down mercilessly, and more than once Marcus had to stop to apply emergency cooling patches from his medkit to prevent heat stroke. Tell me about Earth, Vela said during one such rest, curiosity brightening her eyes. I have studied your world in my education, but the Imperial archives are biased. Marcus smiled, applying a cooling patch to his neck. It's blue. So much water you can't believe it. Forests and mountains and deserts all on the same continent. And the people. We're stubborn, argumentative, and probably the most divided species you'll ever meet. His smile turned wistful. But when things get really bad, we have this way of coming together that can move mountains. And your family? Vela asked softly. The question caught him off guard. My parents still live in New Seattle. Dad's an engineer, Mom's a botanist. My sister's with the diplomatic corps, probably pulling her hair out trying to negotiate for survivors right now. He paused, suddenly homesick. What about yours? Before everything. Vela's luminescence dimmed slightly. My father, Emperor Terex, was stern but just. My mother was kind, perhaps too kind for imperial politics. My brothers were being groomed for military command, while I was trained in diplomacy and the ancient arts. She traced a pattern in the dust. We were not perfect, Marcus. The Empire has committed wrongs, even under my father's rule. But we were working toward peace with the human colonies when General Krull struck. Why did he do it? Marcus asked. The coup. Because my father was about to sign a historic treaty with your Earth Alliance, Vela said, bitterness edging her voice. Krell and his faction believe that aliens, particularly humans, are a threat to Arcturian genetic purity. He called my father a traitor for even considering peaceful coexistence. They continued their journey as the day progressed, sharing stories, learning about each other's worlds. Marcus told her about chocolate factories and Earth's oceans. Vela explained the significance of the patterns on her skin, living records of her family's genetic history that changed subtly with strong emotions. By late afternoon, they had reached the outskirts of the Lumina monoliths. Up close, the structures were even more impressive, towering spires of crystal that caught the light and fractured it into thousands of prismatic beams. Ancient carvings covered their bases, telling stories that stretched back millennia. My ancestors believed these were the first homes of our people, Vela explained as they entered the shadow of the largest monolith, that the crystal itself is alive and remembers every Arcturian who has ever lived. Marcus ran his hand along the smooth surface, feeling a faint vibration. It's warm. It responds to Arcturian biosignatures, Vela said, particularly royal ones. She placed her palm flat against the crystal, and where her skin made contact, the surface began to glow, patterns of light spreading outward like ripples in water. A seam appeared in what had seemed solid crystal, widening into a doorway. Hidden entrance, she explained, gesturing for Marcus to follow. The royal family has always maintained emergency refuges. This one has not been used in generations. Inside, the air was cool and still. Bioluminescent fungi growing along the walls provided soft illumination, revealing a series of chambers carved into the crystal. Ancient technology, still functional, powered atmospheric regulators and water purification systems. We should be safe here, at least for a while, Vela said, activating a control panel that sealed the entrance behind them. The crystal will mask both your human biosignature and my royal one. Marcus set down his pack, allowing himself to truly relax for the first time in days. He watched as Vela moved around the chamber, touching panels, awakening the ancient systems. In the soft glow, with her luminescent patterns flowing like galaxies across her skin, she looked every inch the princess she was. "What's the plan, Your Highness?" he asked. "Hide out forever in a crystal cave?" Vela turned to him, a new determination in her violet eyes. "No, I intend to reclaim my throne." Marcus blinked. "No offense, but it's just the two of us against an entire imperial army." "Not necessarily," Vela replied. "Before the coup, my father had many loyal supporters. If they knew I was alive." She activated another panel, and a holographic map of the sector appeared in the air between them. "There is a resistance, small, scattered, but committed to restoring the rightful government. My Royal Guard commander, Captain Thorn, would have gone to them if he survived." "And you think they'll help us?" "Help you? They would die for the chance," Vela said simply. "But first, we must contact them without alerting Krell's forces." Before Marcus could respond, an alarm chimed softly from the control panel. Vela rushed to check it, her expression darkening. "Movement on the surface," she said, multiple signatures approaching the monoliths. Marcus grabbed his plasma pistol. "They tracked us." "Impossible," Vela insisted. "Unless..." Her eyes widened. "The chocolate wrapper. Imperial trackers can lock onto any non-Arcturian material." Marcus cursed under his breath. Such a small thing, that foil wrapper, discarded without thought in the marketplace. And now it had led their hunters right to them. "How many?" he asked grimly. Vela checked the scanner. At least 7 heavy weapons. They're spreading out to surround the monolith. Marcus did a quick assessment of their situation. 3 plasma charges in his pistol, a medkit with compounds that could be fashioned into one, maybe 2 explosive devices, against 7 bounty hunters with heavy weapons. "We need a plan," he said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Is there another way out of here?" Vela hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, but it requires something I have not attempted since I was a child. Something only the royal bloodline can do." "Now would be a good time to try it again," Marcus suggested as the alarm chimed more urgently. Vela closed her eyes, placing both hands against the crystal wall. The ancient texts speak of the royal connection to the crystals. Not just opening doors, but communication, direction. The patterns on her skin began to glow more intensely, and where her hands touched the wall, the crystal responded, light flowing outward in complex patterns. "What are you doing?" Marcus whispered, fascinated despite their dire situation. "Asking for help," Vela replied, her voice trained with concentration. The entire chamber began to resonate, a deep, harmonic hum that Marcus felt in his bones rather than heard. The crystal walls seemed to shift, becoming momentarily translucent before solidifying again in a slightly different configuration. "There," Vela said, opening her eyes. "I have created a new passage, one that bypasses the surface entirely and leads to a secondary monolith 2 kilometers away." Marcus stared at her. "You can just rearrange the crystals." "Not rearrange. Awaken," she corrected. "The crystals remember every path they have ever held. I simply asked them to remember one that has not been used in 1,000 years." A loud explosion rocked the chamber. The bounty hunters had found the main entrance and were attempting to blast their way in. "Time to go," Marcus said, grabbing his pack. Vela led him deeper into the crystal structure, through passages that seemed to form just as they approached, solidifying behind them once they passed. The hunters' explosions grew more distant, then faded entirely. After what felt like hours of navigating the crystalline labyrinth, they emerged into a vast chamber unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. The ceiling soared hundreds of meters above them, the entire space illuminated by the natural bioluminescence of the crystal. In the center stood what appeared to be an ancient communications array. "The heart chamber," Vela breathed. "I did not think it still existed outside of legend." She approached the array reverently, placing her hand on a crystal control surface. The entire structure hummed to life, projecting a holographic interface that responded to her touch. "I can use this to send a secure transmission to the Resistance," she explained, fingers dancing across the controls. "The signal will be carried through the crystal matrix itself, undetectable by Imperial scanners." As Vela worked, Marcus kept watch, though the chamber seemed secure enough. His thoughts drifted to the unlikely series of events that had brought him here. A combat medic from Earth, now helping an alien princess reclaim her throne, all because he'd shared his last chocolate ration with a stranger. "Marcus," Vela's voice snapped him back to the present. "I've made contact." The holographic display shifted, showing the weathered face of an Arcturian male with battle scars crisscrossing his indigo skin patterns. "Princess Velarix," the Arcturian said, his voice rough with emotion. "You live. We had lost all hope." "Captain Thorn," Vela replied, her own voice thick. "My father's most loyal guard. I should have known you would survive." "Many of us did, Your Highness. We have been gathering strength, waiting for a sign." Thorn's gaze shifted to Marcus. "And you travel with a human." "This is Marcus Reed," Vela said formally, "a human medic who saved my life and has stood by me at great personal risk. He is to be accorded all the respect of a royal guard." Thorn studied Marcus for a moment, then inclined his head slightly. "Any ally of the princess is an ally of the Resistance, but, Your Highness, we must move quickly. Krell has become increasingly unstable. The purges have intensified, and he speaks openly of launching attacks on human colonies." Vela's expression hardened. Then we must act now. What forces can you gather? 300 fighters spread across the sector, Thorn replied. Not enough for open warfare, but perhaps enough for a surgical strike, if we have the right intelligence. And we have something more, Vela said, turning to Marcus with a look that made his heart skip. We have proof that cooperation between our peoples is not only possible but powerful. She took Marcus's hand in her own, their fingers intertwining. Human pink against Arcturian blue. Captain Thorn, prepare your forces. We will rendezvous at the coordinates I'm sending now. After the transmission ended, Vela turned to Marcus, still holding his hand. I cannot guarantee your safety on this path, Marcus Reed. The odds are against us, and even if we succeed, there will be those who oppose any alliance between our peoples. Marcus smiled, thinking of the chocolate bar that had started it all. You know, on Earth we have a saying. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness can change the world. He squeezed her hand gently. I never thought I'd be testing that theory on a galactic scale, but here we are. Vela's luminescent patterns pulsed brightly. Indeed, here we are. She stepped closer to him, her free hand reaching up to touch his face gently. Whatever comes next, I want you to know that you have reminded me of something my people were in danger of forgetting. That compassion is not weakness. It is the greatest strength in the universe. As they stood there in the heart of the ancient crystal chamber, a human medic and an alien princess united by a simple act of kindness, the first pieces of a new future began to align. Somewhere in the stars above, the forces of hatred and division were gathering. But here, in this moment, something stronger was taking root. A revolution that had begun with the sharing of a chocolate bar.